you do in Canada? It's not fun being bullied, is it? Especially by an unhinged neighbor who really likes to blow stuff up. But hey, it takes one tough cookie to live somewhere that'll rip your face off for 8 months of the year. Hi, Manitoba. And you won't be peer pressured, will you? No. Because you're amazing. You're so nice. You say please and thank you to everyone, even Siri, and she'll remember that. And when you mess up, you always say sorry. And it's so fucking charming every single time. No wonder everyone loves you. Don't stop fighting for Mother Nature either. She needs us all now more than ever, especially with the pyro next door. And sure, groceries cost your firstborn, and you pay 80% of your salary to live in a shoebox. But remember, you can still get hit by a bus and not go into debt. And that's pretty damn cool. So keep your chin up, Canada. You're one classy bitch.
Hi, Donald. A Canadian woman here. I see what you did to Jasmine Mooney. You detained her, you humiliated her, and you terrorized her. I, along with millions of other Canadian women, will not stand for it. You think you know Canada. You throw out names like Gordie Howe and Wayne Gretzky. Sure, they're great hockey players, but so too are Hayley Wickenheiser and Marie-Philippe Poulain. And while we're at it, Canada's a soccer nation too. Christine Sinclair isn't just Canada's best soccer player, she's the best in the world. Arts and entertainment, we have Margaret Atwood, Celine Dion, and Sandra Oh. Now somebody you may not have heard of is Viola Desmond. Viola kicked off her shoes and the first civil rights movement in all of North America. She was Rosa Parks before there was a Rosa Parks. And I want to remind you of Nicola Goddard. She was the first woman in the Canadian forces to die in combat. And Donald, she died fighting in Afghanistan, supporting American troops against the very terrorists who attacked your soil on 9/11. We are accomplished and kind. But Donald, we also make big decisions. Did you know that Canadian women account for 75% of all consumer spending in Canada? Canadian women have a $1.2 trillion influence on our economy. We choose the vacations, we pick the brands, and we invest in the future. But here's the thing, Donald. We don't invest in bullies. And Donald, don't forget, we've been here before. Laura Secord, a woman with no title, no army, no backing, walked 30 kilometers through enemy lines to warn British forces of an American attack. Donald, a Canadian woman defeated you in the War of 1812, and Canadian women are her legacy. So, before you come for Canadian women again, remember this, Donald. We forgive, but we do not forget.
And finally, Mr. Speaker, I have a petition that has been signed by Canadians from coast to coast. They note that during the dissolution of the 44th Parliament, petition E5345 was not able to get a response, and it muzzled the voices of the 66,562 Canadians who signed from 10 provinces and 3 territories, declaring that Donald J. Trump is a convicted and sentenced felon of the United States of America. He is an insurrectionist, having engaged in one on his own U.S. Capitol. He's making ongoing threats of both a monetary and sovereign nature against Canada. And they ask that Donald Trump be refused entry to Canada until such time as he cease and desist making threats or taking actions contrary to the well-being of Canadians. Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
So the Canadian Prime Minister came to the White House to meet with Trump. And one of the reporters in the room asked about Trump's claims to make Canada the 51st state. And the Prime Minister of Canada, Mark Carney, basically said, "Fuck no, you orange demon. Canada's not for sale, ever."
I do feel it's much better for Canada. But we're not going to be discussing that unless somebody wants to discuss it. I think that there are tremendous benefits to the Canadian citizens, tremendously lower taxes, free military, which honestly we give you essentially anyway because we're protecting Canada if you ever had a problem. But I think it would really be a wonderful marriage because it's two places that get along very well. They like each other a lot.
Well, if I may, as you know from real estate, there are some places that are never for sale.
That's true.
We're sitting in one right now Buckingham Palace that you visited as well.
That's true.
And having met with the owners of Canada over the course of the campaign last several months, it's not for sale, won't be for sale ever. But the opportunity is in the partnership and what we can build.
Who is watching my videos, thank you for being my viewer. Let's continue watching these videos, and I'll be making my conclusions at the end of the video. Meanwhile, leave a comment. Do you think that we should invade Canada and make it the 51st state? Tell me in the comment section about your thoughts and how you think about this issue. And to the Canadians who are watching my videos, do you think that you should join United States as the 51st state according to Agent Krasnov?
So yes, they are our neighbors, but we have stood up to them. We're in a different situation with Donald Trump, a convicted predator who's seriously undermining the democratic process in the United States, and he thinks he can just push us around. Exactly. He insults us. Yep. The Conservatives seem to like it because he's insulting our Prime Minister, but he's not really insulting the Prime Minister. He's insulting Canadians, calling us the 51st state.
That's right, exactly.
Once there was a Canada that had a flag that didn't need to be waved. A flag that represented who we are. We didn't boast about it.
That was Charlie Angus, a member of the Canadian House of Commons. He's part of the NDP, or New Democratic Party. Look, I'm not here to weigh in on internal Canadian politics, but I do want to highlight Charlie Angus's incredible speech on the floor of the House of Commons, where I think he's channeling the frustration of millions of Canadians at the way Donald Trump has been behaving and bullying the incredible country of Canada.
Imagine being a fan of Donald Trump right now. Imagine being a Canadian fan of Donald Trump right now. Imagine being a Canadian fan of Donald Trump before and after he said he wanted to colonize Canada and make the country the 51st state. Imagine plastering Trump's face all over your public Instagram and attending the inauguration with how much he has really beat down Canada, our neighbors to the north. I am talking about Evander Kane, the same man who plays for the Vancouver Canucks and just had dinner with FBI director, noted hockey and UFC fan, also according to Pablo Torre finds out, plays in a beer hockey league and lied about an injury from what Pablo broke, Kash Patel. Now, we should know about Evander Kane. This is the same man who was suspended by the National Hockey League because he faked a vaccination card during peak COVID. And according to his wife, whose name is Anna Kane, he bet on NHL games, including his own, when he was with the San Jose Sharks, whose outcome she claimed, according to ESPN, he intentionally sought to influence for his benefit. Though the NHL investigated the claims and cleared Evander Kane, there are many red flags. And may I just say, all of it collectively perfectly fits not only someone like Evander Kane, but also, if we have to be very clear about it, in this day and age, a perfect model for a fan of MAGA.
So let's see if I can get this right. After not winning the Nobel Prize and actually losing to a girl from Venezuela, which is kind of ironic when you think about it, he wakes up this morning pissed off at China because they're sending letters to every country in the world. So he wants to put massive tariffs on China again, which sends the market into a free fall. But that doesn't stop there. No. He actually permits Qatar to build an Air Force base on U.S. ground. I guess that's why they gave him a plane and the right to build a golf course. So he gets a new golf course, gets a plane that he's going to try to keep, and what do you guys get? Another foreign country on your grounds. Oh boy. It's Canadian Thanksgiving this weekend, and from the bottom of my heart, I want to thank you, Americans, for giving us a hell of a show. Have a good day.
So maybe Netflix or Disney are experiencing low usage in Canada because Canadians are not watching movies anymore. They have a show ongoing in the White House. It's amazing.
Donald Trump is getting played by Canadian Prime Minister Mark Carney right to his face, and Trump doesn't even realize it. Now, this is today in the Oval Office, where Mark Carney is visiting in an effort to secure a trade deal or the framework of a trade deal between the U.S. and Canada. And a lot of people expected there to be tension between Carney and Trump, but instead, Carney is buttering Donald Trump up, calling him a transformative leader, congratulating him on all his peace deals and the economic progress he's made, because Mark Carney knows the way to Donald Trump's heart is through compliments, and that it's going to be a lot easier and you're going to get a better trade deal just by giving him what he wants. Meanwhile, behind Trump's back, Mark Carney has strengthened trade relations between Canada and Mexico. He stole a trade deal out from under Trump with Indonesia, the first between Indonesia and a North American country. So when Canada and U.S. continue trade, Canada will have a bigger market and can ask for higher prices. Meanwhile, the U.S. has a smaller market because less people are working with us, and we'll be lucky to get the same prices.
Check this out. The Canadian government has now placed billboards in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, slamming Donald Trump for his tariffs. Here's an example of one of the billboards that says tariffs are a tax on your grocery bill. And here is a zoomed in version of that photo. And as you can see at the bottom, it says paid for by the government of Canada. And here's another billboard that was found saying tariffs are a tax at the gas pump, again saying paid for by the government of Canada. This was reported on by Sean Kitchen, who's a political journalist for Courier, and I honestly think this is great. Look, as an American, I'm always going to root for the United States. That's my position. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to defend Donald Trump automatically because he's the American president when he attacks our allies. Canada has been one of America's closest allies. They've helped us in wars, in tragedies, in natural disasters, and this is the way that Donald Trump treats them, by putting tariffs on them and trying to hurt the Canadian economy? Yeah, no way. I love the United States, but our neighbors up north are right. Tariffs are a tax on you, your grocery bill, your income, your gas, whatever it might be. And anyone telling you otherwise is lying to you.
You know that we're the only country in the world, I believe, I may be wrong, but just about the only country in the world that uses them.
Willie is wrong. Germany, Switzerland, Australia, Canada, the UK, France, and India all use mail-in voting.
Even Jimmy Carter with this commission, they set it up.
Jimmy Carter did not set up mail-in voting. Let's be real, this is about voter suppression. Because in Oregon, where we have mail-in voting, we have about a 78% voter turnout, even in off-election years. That's in contrast to midterms. That's non-midterm, non-presidential election voting. 78% turnout. It was started in 1981 in Lynn County. They tried it for 2 years, and it was so successful that they decided to institute it throughout the rest of the state. It works great, and Oregon is typically a blue state. And that's what the Republicans don't like. That's why they're trying to do away with systems like mail-in voting systems like Oregon has. Oregon is considered a model for nationwide mail-in voting systems, and he doesn't want that.
To start with an executive order that's being written right now by the best lawyers in the country to end mail-in ballots.
That's not up to the president. The Constitution gives Congress the authority to delegate the time, places, and manner of federal elections, but it does not mandate how elections must be run. And because of the 10th Amendment, anything not delegated to the federal government, like the specifics of voting methods, is delegated to the states. This is why each state decides whether or not to permit mail-in voting, absentee voting, to have their own ballot design and deadlines, polling locations, and hours. None of that is up to the president.
Thank you to everyone who has watched my clips, these videos to the end. And I would like to give credit to all the creators who are making their voice heard. And to everyone who is always commenting on my videos to engage in these discussions, thank you for giving me a voice. So how I would like to analyze Donald Trump's foreign policy. It's all about bullying to submission. He is bullying Colombia, Venezuela. So when you see this bombing conducted on the high seas, it's not all about drugs, no. It's all about a show of force, It's all about bullying these other countries. And which countries are being bullied? Colombia, Venezuela, and most importantly, Panama. Why do I say Panama? In his campaign season, he accused China of infiltrating the Panama Canal. So when you see all these US might, both on the Pacific and Atlantic, it's not about the drugs, it's not about the Venezuela, it's not about Colombia, it's Panama. And I usually tell my viewers, don't fall for the government psyop. See beyond the screen. All this happening in these oceans, it's all a psyop. The real reason Trump has his navy stationed on the seashores of Colombia and Venezuela is because of Panama. Now we are bullying Canada, our neighbor, Mexico, our neighbor. I don't know to what end, you know. So I'm one of our friends, one of our trading partners, you know, a country we share maybe the longest border. We are at war, at trade war with them. So it's really sad what's happening at the moment. And I would like Canadians to tell me their thoughts in the comment section. What do they think? Because Trump is using fentanyl. He claimed that there's so much fentanyl which is coming through the Canadian border. And he accused the Canadian government of not taking enough measures. And when the Canadian government decided to deploy military in their borders, you know, these tariffs still persisted. So I don't know to what end. I would like to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Tell me what do you think about all this saga which is going on between United States and Canada, between United States and Europe, between US and China, between US and these Caribbean countries, you know, between US and these Panama, Venezuela, Colombia. Tell me in the comment section. I usually tell my viewers, stay alert, stay focused. Don't fall for the government psyop. Watch blue, listen blue, talk blue, vote blue, and until the next video, thank you for your attention to this matter.